Hi, I'm Tony Scarpellos, and welcome to the How to Do Impressions course. I'm really psyched that you're here. I have so much information to give you. This is chock full, and we're just gonna really have a lot of fun. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about basically impressions in themselves. What are they? And why do people like doing them? Why do people like seeing them? And for many people, there's different reasons. For you, it might be you just like the effect that it creates on people. You get a laugh out of somebody, you can get really close to the character and the voice or some kind of mannerism, and people start saying, hey man, that was pretty good. I like that. Or do that again, kind of feeling. There's so many reasons. Maybe you have family and friends that you like imitating and you like doing impersonations and impressions of those people to other people, other family members that already know them. So it really becomes this magical and this fun kind of game. It's fascinating for most people. Most people will never turn down an opportunity to see a really good impression. It's just within us. We like it. It's kind of godlike in a way to be able to create that out of nothing and demonstrate that and show that to people. So it's a lot of fun. The basic reason that I like doing impressions is because it's fun, for no other reason. I like that feeling that I get when people remark, oh my God, that was awesome, do it again, do it again. It's like being a magician, only you don't need any props. You just use what you know. You're using yourself. It's an impromptu thing. It's right off the cuff. Bam, you do an impression. Pretty much everybody has done impressions of one person or another in their life, so it's not some new thing for most people. Pretty much 80% of America has done an impression of Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, who hasn't done I'll be back? There's no one that hasn't done that. Or maybe, at least the older generation has. The newer generation, not so much, But that's where I started. I started with movies. Most people who do impressions are movie geeks. We love the lines. We know the lines. We know all the characters. So it's just natural to us to just throw out lines. So from that, I've been doing impressions for quite a while, and I got into acting because for that very same reason, I got into acting, and I've had about maybe 9 or 10 years of actor training. So I've taken that actor training plus all the methods that I've used to learn how to do impressions on my own and put them all together. So you're going to get a lot of benefit out of this course because you're going to get a lot of actor training and actor techniques combined with the techniques that I've created for doing impressions as well. So it's just one big giant kind of bundle and package you're going to gain from many years of my experience. So we're going to talk about a very important subject throughout this entire course called duplication. So what is duplication? Duplication is basically the idea of creating an exact copy of something next to it. Not kind of like it or similar to it, but an exact copy. So what we're doing when we're doing impressions is we're making an exact copy of that thing that we're looking at. Now I understand that it's virtually impossible to be an exact replication, an exact copy of something. You can't do an exact impression of somebody, but you can get pretty close. And that's the point of this course, is to get you as close as possible to that thing that you're doing an impression of. The closer you get, the more exact you get, the more you duplicate that person, the more impressive it's going to be. The more fun you're going to have, the better responses you're going to get overall. And that's what this is all about. So we're going to talk about duplication, and there's three basic parts of duplication. There's the physical characteristics, the vocal characteristics, and then what I call the bringing in of the soul. Bring in the soul. These 3 points are essential for duplication. If you're missing one, it's not going to be as good. It'll be pretty good, but it won't be as good. If you only have one out of the 3, it's going to be okay. We want you to have all 3, and we want it to be great. We want it to be awesome. We want it to like blow people away. We want you to be godlike in a sense. Okay? So within that duplication, in the 3 points, we're going to talk about having a good ear, what that means. Some people think, oh, he's just born with a good ear. It's not true. some people are born with better ears and they can hear things, but for the most part, it's a learned ability, and there's training involved. I'm going to show you how to develop a good ear, so even a great ear. Also, there's having a good eye, which is something that can be learned as well. There's different techniques for that. And you combine all that together, and you're really going to just be so far ahead of everybody else when it comes to impressions. And you probably want to start doing impressions, or you'll want to do impressions for people right away, because it'll be so exciting. You'll get so good at it. You'll just want to demonstrate. That's going to happen. So there's various techniques, there's various procedures, and there's all kinds of exercises that are going to be in this course that are going to help you do just that. There's also case studies that are in place to help you understand exactly how I research characters, and I'm going to show you how I research characters, and we're going to do it together. We're going to go through it, and you're going to see step by step how I evaluate and analyze characters and how I pull the information out so I can use it in terms of my impressions. So you're going to learn that as well. I'd like to give people different ideas in terms of how I manipulate the muscles in my throat and the sounds and different ways to enter into a character, and that's great. But at the same time, you want to be able to find these means on your own, and you want to be able to go further. The main focus of this course is to put you in a position where you can research and develop characters on your own without the help of anybody else. So my hope for you in this course is that you have a toolkit, an arsenal of techniques and methods and procedures for going into a character and just dissecting that character and building an impression from the ground up. So with that said, let's start. Characteristics are basically traits, mannerisms, any kind of thing that stands out in the character that you're going to do the impression of. It's something that you'll notice. People have habits, they have certain rhythms and certain traits that come out more, and you keep seeing them, and after a while it becomes obvious. So that's the first place you will start with. Watching a person's characteristics, if you don't have video footage of them, is something that's really easy accessible, like YouTube clips or just movies of that person. It's kind of hard, so you really have to pay attention if it's somebody like your uncle or your friend or your boss or neighbor or whomever. So you'll just have to make notes, or maybe you can film them. I don't know, that's gets kind of weird if you get caught and you got to do a lot of explaining. So let's talk about basic characteristics. There's three things you should start with that give you the foundation for the characteristics of the character. And I like to start with their smile or their laugh, how they stand, and how they walk. Those three are really important, because if you have those, you can always revert back to those when you're doing your impression. And being in motion, the smile, the laugh kind of breaks it up, gives the audience a chance to participate. They can kind of feel involved. So those three are really important. So the smile, you can pick anyone that you like. So you'll basically get a clip of them, YouTube, movie, and find that place where they smile or they laugh, and just kind of hone in on that, okay? Because the name of the game here in characteristics is to isolate. And you can practice to laugh over and over and over again. There's only so many ways to do it. I mean, I understand noise comes out of their mouth. It's a vocal thing, part of the smile, but we're working on characteristics, okay? You're constantly isolating. And starting with those three gives you the best foundation. So find that clip, find where they smile. Now, watch that clip as many times as possible, and watch it especially without any sound. So this is the mute technique. This is really going to help you find the traits and characteristics and the mannerisms of the character you're doing an impression of. This is a really, really vital tool, and you're going to love it because you're really going to see things that you didn't see before. So the way this works is you're going to find an area that's really, really quiet that you can be in for at least 45 minutes. You're going to select a clip, a video clip of the person you're doing the impression of, and you're going to mute it. You're going to hit that little mute button, completely no sound at all, and you're going to watch it over and over and over again, as many times as you possibly can. And as you're going through it, you're going to find more and more characteristics of that character, and you're going to make notes, constantly making notes. And you select a clip that's only about 15 to 30 seconds long. You can do more, but 15 to 30 seconds, I found, is the easiest and the most comfortable way of doing this. You don't get overwhelmed. And I'd go through that probably at least 2-3 dozen times. And as I start to go through it, I start to do the characteristics myself. I start, kind of acting it out a little bit. So watch any clip that you're studying the character of without any sound at all. It's amazing what happens. There's no distractions in terms of vocal. You're not processing, the sounds in the vocal and trying to work on that. It's just constant visual input into your mind. And this is the best advice I can give you for the way to study characteristics visually. Okay, so if you look at Al Pacino, there's different ways that he smiles and laughs. Okay, it's basically something happens with his mouth. It kind of goes up to the side when he smiles or he laughs. It's like, ha. Okay, it's kind of like it stretches. It's ha. Ha! And over the years it's gotten a lot more raspier, but that's vocal. Okay, so it's like, or there's just a regular smile. It's like okay, it's kind of to the side. If you look at Christopher Walken, his smile is like it's kind of like this wispy kind of whisper rasp that comes out. And again, that's the vocal, but looking at the structure of his mouth and what he's doing, it's like, like John Travolta's laugh is like, it's like, it's back and forth and up. He's like, or you can do up, side. So it's like, and he's kind of bouncing, and he kind of bouncing when he's talking. He's like, he's got a lot of rhythm going on. He's like, Okay, so you'll get a clip and you'll just watch it over and over of your character. That's basically, the first thing that you'll start studying. So get that smile down. That's really important, because if you're doing an impression for somebody and maybe in the beginning it's not so good and it gets kind of weird because they don't know like what you're doing and you don't know what you're doing, you can always have your default as that laugh and that smile. And if you look at them and do it, it'll bust them up and it'll break the tension. So it's a good default to go back to. Okay, work on it. Work on the smile. Very important. Next thing is the walk. When you have your walking and your standing, and especially your smiling really, really down, you can kind of get away with a lot in the beginning because they're always your default, your go-tos. Let's say that you don't have a lot of lines down, or you kind of mess up, or something didn't come out the way you wanted it to come out. You can always go into a little walk, or you can do a smile, then go into a walk, and then stand, and then what that does is it gives you maybe 2 or 3 seconds to kind of recuperate from that and kind of take the pressure off you. And they're looking at your body, movements, and then you're kind of remembering what your lines are, what the next best thing is to say, or something will come to you, and it'll just give you that amount of time just to get you out of it. So that's really, really important, and that's what we're going to work on right now. So let's talk about walking. We'll take a few characters, Al Pacino. Again, we're going to do a lot of Al Pacino, Christopher Walken, John Travolta, because they're my favorites. We can do others, but I'm just going to stick with what I'm really, really good at, and that's what you'll do in the beginning too. You'll just stick with a couple of characters and just develop those. So this applies to everybody, but we got to start somewhere. So I'm going to do Al Pacino. So the basic walking movements that he does is, first of all, get the right position for you so you can see me. His posture is really bent over. Okay. So just picture yourself. This is you straight up, and then you kind of go into shoulders back a little bit, arms kind of go back, and they're kind of just hanging a little bit by the side, and sometimes his hands go to his side like this as he turns his hips. Okay, so you can kind of just play around with that right now. And from this position, he's kind of just creeping along. You kind of just walk around, lay your shoulders back. Just kind of get into that. It's really awkward and it feels uncomfortable actually. That's the way he walks, but it's just kind of the basic idea, okay? And then you kind of look over your shoulder a little bit and look back, and hands go back onto the hips. So you look back, and then hips, and then things like a lot of hand gestures, and you can do this when you're walking. Just be like, you always kind of fall right back into that stance, hunched over. So looking over the shoulders, and then hands. So when you get into a real fluid thing of it, you start to look a little something like this. And then occasionally, I'm doing real life Pacino, mostly the way you see him in interviews. In the movies, his posture's like a lot straighter, so you can kind of play with that too. But off camera and on camera, very, very different postures. So if you want to do more of the Pacino from Heat, you're going to straighten up your shoulders a little bit. Not going to be so hunched over. It's going to be back a little bit, but nonetheless, it's still hunched over, and he's short too, so that kind of plays into it as well. So you got hunched over, hips, and you're looking back, and you kind of squat down a little bit too. It does that, and then you get one of these. It's like this superiority kind of thing, but it's kind of maybe stopping and thinking, and he looks back. Okay, and then there's the stomach. Rubs the stomach. You'll notice that too. This is all things you're going to notice as you go into the character development and you're watching clips over and over and over and over again. These things are going to really start to come out, and it's going to make notes, and you're going to start incorporating them, and then before you know it, you'll have a lot of these different traits, and they'll just come out naturally, and you'll see all the patterns. So hands up here. I'm going to try to stay away from the voice. It just comes out. It's a natural thing, but hands are up here, and stomach. You always rubs your stomach, and then they come down, and they're kind of a little like loose. Okay, and then does that a lot. Looking around, okay? So that's the basic walk. So going into it again, we'll just, and then sometimes he's kind of like a little off balance. You'll see him almost like he's had a few. So, and maybe that's what he's doing. He's balancing himself with his hands, but. And then you're going to add in one more thing. We can't go into all of them for this character because there's too many. He points a lot. So, and he points downwards like this. And he's making a point, he's actually pointing. So it's, and the hands go up, and go down, and he goes back. And he's hunched over, rub the stomach, look over the shoulder, what's there? And the eyebrows go up too. So this is all part of your just being in movement. Walking means not just like walking down the street. It means movement, other than standing. It's the only way I can describe it, okay? It's everything except for standing, being in motion. So, hands. And this is a great thing to actually really, you can do this sometimes too. It's a little Godfather. That seldom does that. That's just one movie, but this is a great thing to do because gives you all this you know, these mannerisms to give your audience the full experience, and they feel like they're actually watching, you know, the character right there without the character even talking. It's very powerful. It's fun. Okay, so there's your Pacino. We'll do it one more because he's just so great. So he comes over and okay, and bops. Get bop sometimes. And you. There's another one too. Oh yeah, there's. Italian, you know, they talk with their hands. Mediterranean. Okay, good. So that's Pacino. That would be an example of the walking or the just in movement. Smile. Again, we went to the smile. It's well, it's a chin up. That shifting of the jaw, and then there's a little nod to the side. Okay. For the Tony Montana fans out here, we'll do Scarface Tony Montana, walking, standing, and smiling. Okay. So same thing. Now that we have Al down, we're going to go into Al Pacino's Tony Montana. So that's a lot. It's more exaggerated. So the hands are really they move all over the place. So kind of get the idea of just actually like warming up. If you're warming up and you're doing one of these, but bring it down a little more and just kind of let it really he's really loose, man. Okay, he's just real loose. He's not. He is tense, but he doesn't let it show in his body. Okay, and the hips. Okay, and he never, ever takes his eyes off you. He never start looking at you. He's always looking at you. And he goes back and forth too. He paces back and forth. But you can see there's the Al in there. And then there's this. It's one of those too, see? That comes in there. And there's the point. Let's get this better. Okay. So there's your Tony Montana. Are you looking at? Do you want something? And when he looks at you, this is something for later. It's that real rare. He's got that dead, cold steel look in his eyes coming at you. Okay, so you got to put that in. That's for later. But in terms of walking, there it is. Now the stand, where he stands, usually stands like this. He's always fixing his pants. And he gives you one of these and he looks at you from the side. It's kind of the hips are facing to the side, but he's looking at you and he's fixing his pants, brings him up, and then right here, right up on top. Not low, they're up here. Then he can do one of these. And occasionally he looks over his shoulders. Okay? The majority of Tony Montana it's in the facial. A lot of the body mannerisms are from Al Pacino, regular. So you're going to transition just a little bit. It's a lot of it is in the face. Okay? So he's just kind of looking at you like this. He doesn't stop looking at you. Ever. He never stopped looking at you. Okay? Same smile. But he's a little more cockier. That's the difference in the smile. Okay? Regular Al Pacino is just like this. But Montana is, oh. It's kind of like he's like a jokester. Okay? It's kind of clowny almost. So that's your basic idea of characteristics: walking, standing, and smiling, Al Pacino, and then going into Tony Montana. Okay, let's talk about Christopher Walken. He's got great posture, and because he used to be a dancer, and feet are a little bit more than shoulder width apart, and arms come out like this, and it's real stiff. Shoulders are back. Okay, if you can see this. Picture like the G.I. Joe figures, and a lot of those figures, their arms only move like this. No, it's like this. Yeah, it's like this. That's how they look. So his is a little bit more down by his sides, but out a little more. So, and they both move at the same time. So he stands like this, and your feet are shoulder width apart. Hands are always out, arms are out like that. And as he's walking, he does like, it's almost like he's getting ready to bust out into a tap dance move. So picture the idea of him just busting out and doing like a tap dance move, right? But before he does that, he's in this stance right here. And that's where you're gonna work your walk in from, in terms of how he moves. So stiff, real stiff. And when he talks, or he's about to say something, he's gonna go to the side. You don't have to talk, you can just move. Pretend like you're gonna talk, it's funny. You can go. And you're nodding up and down. You're blowing out of your nose. I don't think he breathes out of his mouth ever. Pucker up your lips. And just kind of move like that. And you can exaggerate your hands now. From this position, kind of move them out. And when he says something, well, it just comes up a little bit. Well, you know, I've seen the way he walks. There's a rhythm. It's like a dancer's move. Okay? So that's his walking. And the standing is the same thing. Just stand. Kind of stiff. Arms up, hands down, dead. If you want to do something, you just kind of, in the shoulder, sometimes the shoulder comes up. And you're nodding to the side. Okay? It's pretty, that's it for walking. He's really easy to do. And then his smile is, you can even do a, just kind of like really crisp, silent whisper. Show a lot of teeth. Okay? So remember, getting ready to bust out and do a dance move, but kind of tame it down a little bit, and then that's the basic motion. All right, good. So that's your walking. Let's do John Travolta. John Travolta's funny. I like to do old Travolta, like Grease and Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive. That's the fun Travolta. And basic idea of Travolta is when he's walking, I don't know if you can see this, you kind of kick your back leg up, and you stick your ass out a little bit, and you just kind of come back and forth, and get really loose with it. And go really loose, like that. Like, yeah, how you doing? How you doing, baby? How you doing? My name's John. What's your name, beautiful? What's your name? Oh my God. So try to get that rhythm. And you want to go back. And you can go forward. And then you kind of add your shoulders into it. Add the shoulders. That's right. Put your shoulders into it. This is like a new aerobics workout. It's called the Giant T. Okay? Now, see that? Watch. It's kind of like a circle. You're making a circle while you're in motion. I'll give you another one. And then the head goes forward. But the ass is kind of sticking out a little bit. And then you get the arm. And that's the basic idea. And then you laugh. Now when you're standing, he's doing the same thing, only he's kind of just nodding. It's like he can't stand still. He's got like too much energy, okay? Or he's too nervous. It's more like a collection of both. So you can actually just kind of move in one place. Just kind of pick your feet up. It's kind of really hard to show the lens, but up and down. Like you're strutting in the army. Okay? But now, kind of put your head into it and your shoulders. And maybe, and then he does this one. Oh my God. This right here. And then it's going to kind of turn you. And when you turn, put your hand on your head. But don't mess up the head. Put your hand on your head. How like that? How like that? Oh my God. Right? So it's really difficult to actually show him standing as the character because he gets so much energy. You can basically just cock your hip. I'll light one up. Cock your hip on one side, but you turn at the same time. So you turn, cock your hip, okay? And shoulder front forward, the shoulders back. And then you just nod up and down. You nod up and down like that. How you doing? You're looking at the girl, you can just look at her, you'll bust her up and go, how you doing? I would like to meet you. My name's John. Or you can say, my name's Tony Monero. That's it. So that's all I can basically give you. So fix it here. Oh, there's a couple more. You're gonna make a point, right? He's making a point. So you're in motion, you're bouncing, and then at the same time, this hand is gonna come on your hip, and this hand is gonna come out like that. And you're really gonna put a lot of intention into the person that you're talking to stop. Okay, so you're looking at them, right? You're going up and down, and you go like this. And then you can add something that he would say. So it'd be like, listen to this one, you're gonna die, so you're gonna crack up, right? Okay? So, see, there's so much more, but that's the basic, and you're gonna get a lot more, because you might not even like these characters or choose these characters, so the characters that you're gonna be doing, you're just gonna keep building and building and building, and it's going to come out natural. You'll take so many notes and you'll incorporate them into your behavior that you won't be able to describe them all at some point. You'll just know them. They'll be part of you. It's kind of like, asking me, hey, how do you walk? I'd be like, I don't know, I just walk. Or it's like, what are the aspects of your personality? It's like, I don't know, I'm just me, I'm Tony. You just know these things. You you can't describe them. That's what's going to happen with your characters. Okay, so we talk more about how to analyze characters and the techniques later on if you haven't already watched it, but that's the basic idea. So rock on your character work. Okay, so once you have that smile, you have the walking, and you have the standing, you have your foundation. These are like the basic things that are really important, like I said. Now you're going to keep adding. You're going to keep more detail, more little minutia, little tiny, just little tiny things that really go unnoticed from most people as they're watching the character, but you're watching it from a different angle. You're watching it like a hawk, and you're just looking for things that repeat themselves, that stand out. And the more of these you have, the better your physical characteristics are going to be. And you can hold the impression just by doing characteristics alone. You don't even have to speak. It's kind of like watching your favorite character as a fly on the wall, but only your audience will be watching you do the impression as a fly on the wall. And you can do it for 2-3 minutes. When you get really good and you get it really down. There's many characteristics. It's like somebody's constantly like touching their chin. Al Pacino's always kind of like doing something with his eyes. I don't know, he's like rubbing his eyes. Maybe because he doesn't take a lot of showers or something, and he's got a lot of a lot of sand in his eyes, but he's kind of doing that a lot, And he's kind of hunched over like that. He's got really bad posture. See, I'm starting to actually do the voice now as we go into it. Maybe I'll just do the voice too. But he's got like some bad posture, and it's like it's kind of hunched over. I don't know why. It's just old age catches up with you. So it's a little hunchy like that. And then you got Christopher Walken, he's got really good posture. Really excellent posture because he used to be a dancer and be on stage a lot. But he's always nodding, like he's in agreement with you. He nods, and when he says something, he moves his face to the left, and then he's nodding. And he's got really small lips, and I don't have my lips aren't that small, so I gotta kind of like pucker them, and I pull them in a little if I can. You can do that. You can kind of contort your face a little bit to match that of the characters. There's only so many things you can do. Mouth is basically one of them. I mean, you can't change your nose but you can use your eyebrows. And yeah, Mickey Rourke does a funny thing, like he's always like got something in his bottom teeth, and he's always like touching, using his hands to touch, That's another thing you can do. The more characteristics you build, I'm telling you, it just becomes this really awesome display, and it really shows that you put the work in, you did your due diligence, and it'll really show. So then when you add the vocals onto that, and then you put the soul into the character as well, it just makes for this unbelievable performance. Okay, so really working the characteristics. And like I said, watch as many clips as you can with no sound. I mean nothing, mute completely. Watch them over and over again, and they're going to be things that are going to be coming out that you won't believe were there before, but they always were there. You just weren't looking for them or looking at them. And most people subconsciously are taking these traits and characteristics of the character, but they don't really remember them with their conscious mind. So here you are looking at them, and you're pulling them out, and then you display them, and then in your audience's mind, subconsciously, they know this. So it's really going to make a great impact. You have to take notes. I know some people are like, I don't do notes. I'll remember. I'll remember. You won't. You'll forget one tiny little thing out of like 12 incredible things, and the one little thing that you forgot could make all the difference in the world. Take notes. Get a little notepad and just take notes. It's really important because the more you review your notes, the more it'll instill inside of you all the things that you do know, and your certainty will come way up, and you'll just remember these things. That's really important. Um, One of the things that's really important as well is to know the difference between doing an impression of somebody and kind of like a, I don't know, like an animated cartoon version of them. And that's fine because you can do that. It all depends on the audience. For some people who really know movies and movies are their life, they know all lines, all the characters, you can just do the impression just kind of like almost like a deadpan impression of somebody, real soft, like with all like the basic dramatic acting techniques and everything involved, and they'll get it. Some people, they don't know movies that well. Maybe they've seen the movie a long time ago, and you have to kind of ham it up a little bit just to kind of give them, kind of jog their memory of the character, or do like a over exaggeration of the character, and then that gets them. So it all depends on your audience. You got all the characteristics now, and then you have the laugh and the smile. So you're putting them all together. You make notes of these, obviously, and you just keep collecting them over and over. And as you watch more and more clips, you're going to see more and more of these similarities amongst all the clips that you watch. And then it's really obvious. So there's the similarities and the traits within one clip, and then you'll be watching like 10 clips, and you'll see multiple similarities strung throughout all of them, and it's like, oh, obviously, that's it. They're your, it's like your poker tells, they come out, and that's significant and relevant to that character. You go back into the walk-in, and maybe the shoulder kind of goes up a little sometimes, and the head goes back. His head goes back of the lips, and sometimes the eyes go a little buggy. My eyes go buggy. Don't know what to do about it. Seen a doctor. Didn't help. Nothing helps. The shoulder, Practice that over and over again. And you know what? Don't be afraid to do this to people. I suggest start off with people that you know. To your friends, family members. You can be selective too. Maybe there's some people who are kind of negative in your family, and it's not going to go over well. Be selective, but find people who are supportive, who they're on your side. They know what you're trying to do, and they appreciate it. And you'll get to a point with them where you don't have to tell them what you're doing or who it is. They'll just know. And they'll expect you to do it. They'll want you to do it. They'll tell their friends about you. And then you're going to be asked to do it. You're going to be put on the spot. So that's kind of good. It's a little scary in the beginning because you don't know, it's like you don't know them, or you don't know how it's going to go. So you have to kind of break through that. But be prepared. Have some kind of stock skit or a couple lines and introduce what you're doing. It's like, this is my impression of so-and-so in this movie. And then it gives them time, it gives them a second to go, oh, okay, and they kind of get ready. And then you deliver it. And now they get it, or they don't. Doesn't matter. If they don't get it, or they don't like it for some reason, or whatever happens, don't worry about it. Just say, it's a work in progress. I'll give you the next version in a month. And then move on, change the subject, go into something else. Learning characteristics is an endless study. I mean, you can keep going more and more and more involved, get deeper and deeper into it. And if you're doing a character who has done a lot of movies or been in a lot of stuff, there's so much, because as that character, maybe they're playing somebody different. Christopher Walken is always himself. He's easy. Al Pacino's different because he's kind of morphed over the years from being real deadpan, in The Godfather. And his voice was like this, and my father, he was talking about, don't you ever try to make, what do you say, don't you ever try to talk about the family again. It's just like it was deadpan, it was nothing, and his voice was different. And as he evolved, he started to get a little, his voice started to change a little bit, and so I kind of talk like this. And then he started to get really, after drinking a lot of whiskey, and then his eyes started to get droopy, and his posture started to get down. Then he started to look like this. Who the hell am I? I don't know. So you can watch a lot of your characters in a lot of movies, and you can pick, different personalities that they were, and you can kind of just get better and better. Just keep doing it. I wanted to say something about the use of mirrors, or the mirror technique. For the most part, people put themselves on video and then they watch the video back, which is great because you're doing the same thing. Basically, what you want to do is have an exterior viewpoint, an exterior perception of yourself as you're doing the characters. When you're using a regular mirror, it's a little more challenging when you're looking straight at the mirror, because you tend to focus on your own eyes. And this can interfere in the beginning. You want to do that technique towards the end. In the beginning, you want to put yourself on video and then watch the video, and you can critique yourself. But what's good about using the mirror technique in terms of the two-way mirror, you're going to adjust the mirror where you're looking at yourself, but your eyes aren't focused back at yourself. They're not reflecting back at yourself. So it's as if you're looking at yourself from the side, and you kind of adjust that mirror and you close it and close it and close it to the point where you're almost looking at yourself. See if I can kind of describe it. You're almost looking at yourself, but when you look at you're looking at yourself like that. And that's how you'd be seeing yourself in that technique with the mirrors. Okay, but now I adjust the mirrors, and now I'm looking back at myself this way. So by looking at yourself to the side, just slightly, just like that, slightly off to the side, and then you do the character, your attention is not on your own eyes. You can adjust what you're doing in real time. You don't have to keep recording yourself and then sit back and watch it. You can just keep adjusting and do slight little different variations and so forth. So that is a really, really awesome technique to be used as much as possible. That will just skyrocket your physical characteristics. You want to get to a point whereby you forget that you're yourself. You actually are that character, even if for 1 little second, 1 second or 2 seconds, and you forget that you're yourself and you actually believe that you are that character. That's huge. You want to make a note of what you just did or how that felt and do more of that. That will really accelerate your progress. Use it. That's a huge arsenal in your toolkit to get you where you want to go faster.